It's bringing Tony Dungy from Football Night in America. What do you want as a fan?
As a fan and as a coach, I want good conditions. I want to see the two best teams play and have a chance to show me why they're the two best teams. And as a fan, I don't want to pay $3,000 and sit in the snow.
Okay. What do you think the NFL wants?
I think they like the idea of, it started with these night games in Green Bay and Chicago, and 20 below zero. That's an element that is added to the broadcast, and people are intrigued by that. I think the NFL would they don't want people not to be able to get to the game.
Yeah.
But to have snow and the snow falling and the breath and, all of that we used to see in the 60s, that's what we want.
You got a chance to see Texas play Oregon. Your son plays for Oregon. And I was surprised at the difference in talent between those two schools. And there's no reason for that, Tony. You were there to see it in person. What did you make of Texas personnel?
I was stunned, Dan. When I'm thinking Texas, my visions are Earl Campbell and that Vince Young team that beat USC. And to go out there and see, the game was 30-7. It could have been 50-7. And to see Texas play Oregon, where Oregon's probably got 7 to 10 guys on their team from the state of Oregon. They have to go all over to recruit. Texas has 500 Division I players in the state. It just was baffling to me.
Okay, now they're trying to bring in somebody who is going to magically make them, reappear on the national landscape here, be a national power. You're hearing all these names, Charlie Strong at Louisville, who may not have the personality, may not be dynamic enough for the national perspective here. Jim Moore at UCLA. Can you get John Gruden to take the job? They thought maybe Nick Saban. If you were hiring, knowing what you need to do at Texas, who do you get?
I'm going after a rock star. I think that's what they need to turn it back around. They're being beaten in recruiting by Texas A&M, by Baylor, by Oklahoma. You need somebody. You got to get an Urban Meyer like Ohio State did. Hey, I've won national championships. Wherever I go, I win. I'm sending guys to the pros.
But who's out there like that,
That's the question. I don't know who they get. I really don't.
We keep thinking John Gruden. I don't see John as a college coach.
That's the type of name they need. I'm not sure he's going to do it. I'm not sure he would do well in that environment. But that's what they need. They need somebody to bring buzz back to the campus. And honestly, I don't know who it is.
But I'm trying to understand this because your son is at Oregon, and I'm wondering what kids see when they decide to go to a school. Is it coach? Is it system? Who's recruiting me? What kind of uniforms we have? Where do we play? Chances to go pro. So how important is that head coach to your decision?
I think the head coach is important because he brings all of that. The style of play that you're going to have, are you going to be on TV? You're going to be on national TV every week. Are you going to be relevant? Are you going to be playing in BCS games? Are you going to send guys to the NFL? My son went to Oregon, and it's 3,000 miles away. But great facilities, great program. They were playing on TV a lot. All the flash and dash and the dazzle of the uniforms, all of that's good. He loved Chip Kelly, but he loves his coach now too, Mark Helfrich. So whether it's Chip Kelly or Mark Helfrich, I don't know if that's the key as much as what they've created and what they are going to create there.
But kids will go because of the uniforms, won't they? Like there's style to it. It looks cool. We get to play in that place or that system, that style.
There is that, but the great players, great high school players, they want to play in national championship games. They want to play in big settings and big situations. They want to be relevant.
Talking to Tony Dungy, Football Night in America, joining us here in the New York City Man Cave. If you're the number one player in the country right now, where are you going?
I'm going probably to an SEC school, or I'm going to the big school in my home state and be the big fish if it's a place where I can win.
We were talking about this yesterday with quarterbacks. If it's Teddy Bridgewater, Johnny Manziel, whoever it might be, there's a variety. Bortles at Central Florida. As a coach who coached Peyton Manning, if you're looking right now at somebody who can come in and play for you, and you'll adapt your offense to them, because I think in some cases, certainly with Manziel, you have to go all in on Manziel. Who do you take? If you're the Texans, let me start there. You take a quarterback, and if so, who?
You really have to look at it. I don't know who to answer your question, because to me, you've got to examine what is this guy going to do when all the focus is on him, and he has got to be the guy. That was the difference between Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. Can you handle all that goes with being the number one pick in the draft, as well as just being a good player? Because there's a lot of guys that have the talent, and you put the system around them, they're going to do well. But there's so much going on. Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, guys that can handle that are special. And the other thing, I was a Robert Griffin guy all the way a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd have to look at now is durability and that, body to handle the NFL.
Would you shy away from Manziel?
I think I would, just because of that body type. I was – and Griffin could have been a fluke injury. How often do you get your knee blown up?
Yeah.
But I look at Andrew Luck now, and that he's got the physique. He's going to be able to last and hang in there. Peyton Manning has hung in there a long, long time. Tom Brady's hung in there a long time. That's important.
But
too.
Luck runs.
And but he's
like a
big.
linebacker.
He is a physical specimen. But more than anything, too, I think Andrew has that personality and the ability to handle all that and take it in and have all the focus on you and not change and not have anything different, because he's had the focus on him his whole life.
But if you coached Manziel in the NFL, what would you do?
I would build the offense around him and say, you know what, we got to go out and win games, and we're going to do just what we did at Texas A&M. We're going to let you be the guy, win the games, create, and go to work and win that way. And you can win that way.
But you're worried about him getting hurt.
I'm worried about him getting hurt, and I don't know how he's going to handle the next step when, he had a lot of focus on him at Texas A&M. You're going to have way, way more focus in the NFL.
But not off the field. On the field, you'll have more focus. I think off the field, we were looking at who he was hanging out with. Did he get free tickets? Was he signing autographs? Nobody's going to care about that in the NFL.
But there are off-the-field issues. I mean, you've got a lot more time off the field, and are you really dedicated to being the best quarterback you can be? Like Peyton Manning, that was his whole life. Hey, I'm going to do some other things and some charity work in that, but being the best is what he cared about. Manziel, I've got to find out if all these other things really matter and who I hang out with and where I go.
Would you have somebody watch him within the organization?
If I was considering taking him, I would do all that homework. I would know a lot more about Johnny Manziel than I know about him right now if I was considering taking him.
But did you ever have security keep an eye on a player because you were concerned about the player?
I usually didn't have players like that. If I was worried about that and felt like I needed security, they probably weren't going to be on the team.
We'll continue with Tony Dungy. Yeah, I can just see where you have, and some teams do that, where they have somebody who keeps an eye on some of these knuckleheads.
And there are certain players, if you take them, that goes with the territory, and you have to do that. But for me, as a coach, life was too short.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about these openings in the NFL. What's the best opening? And we'll talk to Tony about that. And also the curiosity that is Jadeveon Clowney. Is he still the best player coming out? And would he take him? Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings, Wings Beer Sports. Oh, sometimes these conversations during the commercial breaks are great with you, Coach. I get to hear a different side of you. Jadeveon Clowney. I'm still not sure. I know what I see, but I'm still not sure what he'll be like in the NFL. What would you want to know about Jadeveon Clowney if you're going to draft him?
One question, and you can't get the answer by asking him, does he love football? Because he's talented. I know he wants to win. I know he wants to be a star. I know it's important. But do you really love the things that it takes to be good, or do you just love, being around the game? And you got to talk to the equipment man. You got to talk to the backup offensive lineman. You got to find that out about him. But if he loves football, he'll be dynamite in the NFL. He's got everything you need.
I was also looking at this scenario. Let's say you're Texas. Would you take Jadeveon Clowney? You put him in there with J.J. Watt? And could you imagine? Because everybody says we need a quarterback. You take a quarterback. Sometimes you're passing up the guy you really need, or the guy that is a once in a lifetime player. So I don't know if Clowney is that, and I don't know if these quarterbacks are a sure bet. So that would be my dilemma.
You have to really think about it. It is very similar to Mario Williams, Vince Young, and Reggie Bush. Very similar. There were some question marks, and there's question marks on all these quarterbacks and how quick they can go and take you there. Clowney with Watt, you're going to have a defensive line that's really, really hard to block. You're going to be in games all the time.
That one fascinates me a little bit more. I can get a quarterback. I don't know if I have a franchise quarterback in this draft, but if I'm sold on Jadeveon Clowney, I have a franchise defensive end.
Yes, to go with another franchise defensive lineman, and if the linebacker Cushing comes back, now you've got a front seven that is better than anybody in the league.
We have the games coming up this weekend, and this seems to come up every year at this time. Green Bay is hosting this game against San Francisco. Philadelphia is hosting this game against Saints. But if I just went records, Saints should be hosting the game. San Francisco should. Do you see a scenario where we sort of say, nice that you won your division, you made the playoffs, but we're going by the best record when it comes to these playoff matchups?
I would do one of two things. I would either leave it like it is or change the whole structure so we have AFC, NFC, and now okay, let's deal with the best records. But to me, once you break it down into divisions, you have to reward that division winner. We were in my last game I ever coached. We traveled to San Diego. We had a better record than the Chargers. But as a coach, your number one thing is win your division. If you don't win your division, then you're at the mercy of everything else. And if you really are good, you go on the road and win. Wild card teams have gone through and won Super Bowls. They played 3 road games. So you can't blame it on that. We all know you have to win your division. And so I kind of like it the way it is right now.
Jay Cutler got paid.
He did.
7-year contract
extension. I knew Mark
extension.
Trestman liked him, yes.
I'm fine with the move. I agree with it because I'm trying to figure out what are you going to do? What was plan B? You're going to have Josh McCown in there? I got my franchise quarterback. I thought he improved with Trestman. I got an unbelievable group of wide receivers there. So maybe it doesn't matter who's the quarterback. Did Chicago spend their money wisely?
I think they did because you have to have a franchise quarterback if you want to be a Super Bowl
Is he a franchise
contender.
Quarterback?
We'll find that out in the next couple of years. But you're right, better than the alternative. You got a guy there who understands these receivers, who clicked with him. He played well. Now, so did Josh McCown. So maybe that tells you a little bit about the system and the people that they have there. But now we're gonna find out because it is going to be on Jay Cutler to produce. They believed in him, and I think that's a good thing. You should.
But
believe
Tone,
in
if
your
we
guy.
don't know if he's a franchise quarterback now at 30, then we're never going to find out. Shouldn't we know you're a franchise
you
quarterback
should know.
at 30?
You should know, and that's the question, and that's why everybody's asking, was this a good deal or not? You've been in some good places. You've been with some good coaches. You've had some good weapons. And how many playoff games has he won?
I think one in Seattle, maybe? I think he may have won one. Yeah.
I don't know, but you'd think with this type of talent and the places you've been, you'd have won more. Now we're going to find out.
Would you rather have Cutler or Romo?
Wow.
Or other?
Yeah, that's a good question. Cutler or Romo? I think I'd rather have Cutler at this point, just especially in Chicago with that chemistry with those guys and room to grow and a little bit younger.
Okay, a little bit younger, I can see. Also, you got Jason Garrett, supposed to be an offensive-minded guy with Romo. And Romo's got good wide receivers.
Both of those guys are good players, and they play well, and you play against them in one regular season game, and you say, wow, that guy is pretty awesome. But are they the guy? I don't see Tom Brady there. I don't see with either one of those guys the guy who just, hey, every year I know I've got a chance because I've got Jay Cutler on my team.
But explain that to me, though, Coach. What is that part of your DNA that Brady has and Romo doesn't, or Cutler doesn't?
It's kind of demanding and making your other teammates better. And in the big situation when we really need it, I know you're going to come through for me. And that's what Tom has. That's what Peyton Manning has. That's what Aaron Rodgers has. That's what Drew Brees has. Not very many have it. And that's when you're really talking about franchise quarterbacks. That's what you're talking about.
Who wins on the road this weekend?
Somebody's going to. And believe it or not, I think the team with the best chance is San Francisco because they've got the best defense. But other than that obvious one, San Diego. San Diego is an intriguing team. They win when they shouldn't win. They've got defensive people. Andy Dalton, we saw him last week in a game that they needed to have to move up in the seedings possibly, and he threw 4 interceptions. So you don't know what you're getting there. Everything says Cincinnati should win, and the 1 o'clock start I think is huge for them. But that's when San Diego wins games.
Would Andy Dalton make you nervous? If he's privately, if you're Marvin Lewis, and I said to him, does Andy make you nervous?
You're seeing the same things that you see with Cutler and Romo. A very likable guy, good guy, talented, capable of 400-yard games. In the big moments, in the big games, then you see some whacked out things. So I'm an Andy Dalton fan, and I want him to play really well this week and get that because I know how it is for those quarterbacks. Boy, you haven't had a playoff win yet. We need to see it. He needs to get that monkey off his back. So I'm hoping he plays well, but I wouldn't be super confident.
How many calls in the last week about jobs?
I've consulted people.
So when somebody calls to ask you if you're interested, you turn it around to them?
Well, no, they call and say they want consultation, and so you agree and you sit down, and then then the first question is, well, you wouldn't be interested, would you? So, but no, nothing serious. I haven't had anything serious. But I will tell you this, Dan. I think the best job out there is Detroit Lions. I think they're
if you were going to coach it, if you were coming back, and I had all these openings.
That's the job I would want. I think they're closest to the Super Bowl. You look for things. You look for a franchise quarterback in this day and age. You want to have passing game because this game is all about passing, and you want people who can rush the passer and protect the lead. Detroit's got all that. And now you throw in a great tight end, two really good tight ends, a couple of running backs who can make things happen.
Calvin Johnson.
They've got everything they need in the division. 8 wins won the division this year. So you're in the right division. And you got an owner that doesn't meddle. He's not going to come in and tell you, play this guy, cut this guy, draft this guy. It's a perfect situation. If I was ever coming back, it would be for that job.
But you have Lovie Smith going to Tampa. Were you consulted on Tampa? I
was not. I threw it out there. I put it out there on Twitter. Hey, we need to get Lovie Smith.
But they didn't. The Bucs didn't call you.
No. And I think they knew. Anyway, that was their guy, and I haven't heard the town buzzing like this in 7 or 8 years. People are excited. Those players are excited.
Well, that's a playoff caliber team, Tone.
It is, and now you've got a coach. You don't have to say, well, how's this going to be? How's he going to get credibility? Are people going to buy into it? This is a guy who's been to a Super Bowl. He developed a Super Bowl team, helped develop a Super Bowl team there. He got to St. Louis. They went to the Super Bowl. He went to Chicago. They went to the Super Bowl. And so that credibility is there. They've got some really, really good defensive players. They've got a great wide receiver in Jackson. They've got a really good back. We'll see about the quarterback. But, they're in good shape. I'm excited to be watching them.
Hey, he's Tony Dungy. We got a doubleheader coming up on Saturday, Wild Card Saturday on NBC. What do we start at 4 o'clock with Colts against Chiefs?
We start at 4, yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, we have Saints against Eagles.
Yep, 2 really good games.
All right, buddy. I'll see you at dinner tonight.
Looking forward to it.
All right, man. That's Tony Dungy from Football Night in America.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.